And you know what's interesting is I had the chance to go to a training session last December, and it was, you know, there are aha moments that we have as human beings, and I had an aha moment when I was told that, or asked about what I was working on and what my role was, and then actually named collaboration as being what I was doing and convening as being the role that I was playing. And I had never named that before and never really clearly understood how very important that role was. And it has been transformational, I think, in the way I see my job as a legislator. And it should have been intuitively obvious, I sometimes think. In other words, I scratch my head and wonder why I didn't recognize what was actually happening. But that convening ability, the ability to pick up the telephone and speak to the chancellor of the university system directly and say, could you come to a meeting, or could I bring a meeting to you to talk about a project that we're working on, is a powerful, powerful tool. And it's not one to be abused, but it is certainly one to be used when there is the benefit to be had. And I think it's that recognition, that understanding that's been transformational in the way I operate as a legislator. And I think it's made the project come to the point that it has. About 2 years ago, a group of us were meeting and talking about what we need to keep Maine and this area of Maine from becoming sort of a third world, service industry only, tourist-based economy with nothing really sustainable and more broad-based than that. And we have a strong creative economy, as the Mid-Coast Magnet would indicate, I think. And we asked a lot of the people in the creative economy, what do you see that's missing around here? And the number 2 thing that they said was missing were opportunities for higher education. We asked employers around here, what do you see that's missing from the workforce that we have? And good workforce training and higher education were the first answers out of their mouths. And so we said, well, there's an opportunity here. And in order to take advantage of that opportunity, we decided that we would try and bring together the folks who are offerers of higher education here in the state. The players were sort of obvious to us in that the state community college system and the state university system are both very strong and had an underserved population that both they recognize and we recognize, I think, in this area. So we immediately went to them. The Mid-Coast School of Technology was also just ripe for doing something on a broader basis and looking for new facilities as well. So they were an obvious player early on. As I explained, the high schools came to this a little later in the game, but were very, very enthusiastic supporters of the plan and recognized the value added of having all of these sort of collaborative educational opportunities on one campus. And I think the synergy of having them close by and being able to understand one another's schedule and how they're working is going to provide a real opportunity for us to have a strong education program here in the area. I think what was important was that we talk about the genesis of the issue that as it arose for us, and that really was the issue of economic development. It was much easier to not be talking about education as the principal goal of what we were doing, but instead to say, we need workforce development, we need educational opportunities, we need to raise the aspirations of our students as they're graduating from school, we need to offer educational opportunities to retirees in the area. We need to broaden what we have here, available, close by, reasonably priced. And that was the approach we took. The fact that it was education that was the goal, that was the focus, in the end almost appeared secondary as we were trying to get people together. And I think that there was a strength in that because all the usual rivalries that exist between institutions and the sort of the turf concerns were diminished because everyone recognized that they had a role to play in the bigger issue of economic development, and they were willing to come to the table as a result of that. And then the conversation began, and once the conversation gets going, we're all good people with good intentions, and so we're willing to work together. Convening is the key word. I would say be aware of the fact that probably your greatest single power outside of your ability to vote on legislation is to bring together, if you do it appropriately to bring together people to the table and have them talk. And it's conversation and relationship that ends up solving problems ultimately. And you have the ability to start the conversation by bringing the appropriate folks to the table.